Welcome to the LDN Radio Show, brought to you by the LDN Research Trust. I'm your host, Linda Elsiegood. I have an exciting lineup of guest speakers who are LDN experts in their field. We will be discussing low-dose Naltrexone and its many uses in autoimmune diseases, cancers, etc. Thank you for joining us. Today I'd like to welcome our guest Dermot from Ireland, who is taking LDN for chronic fatigue syndrome. So thank you for joining us today, Dermot.
Yeah, that's nice. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So could you tell us, when did you start to notice the chronic fatigue?
Okay, I have to backpedal to 2018 when in April 2018 I was diagnosed with esophageal cancer, and I was treated with chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery, which all went very well for me. I had little reaction to the various treatments, but just 2 or 3 days after the surgery in October 2028, my lungs gave out, and I got sepsis. I was a mess. I ended up 11 days in an induced coma, 50 days in hospital. I did my biblical thing of 40 days without solid food. I was on a drip feed for 40 days. And eventually kind of probably partly discharged myself out of the hospital because there was little they could do for me. And they trained my wife up how to continue to do the drip feed for me. Well, when I say drip feed, it was in through the lower intestine rather than a drip feed. And I came home. I probably came to the conclusion in the hospital that what was I doing there that I couldn't do at home? And I came home and was doing pretty okay. That was 2018. Got through 2019. Sort of. And then in early 2020, I was doing pretty good, good enough that I decided to buy myself a bike and could do up to 7 or 8 kilometers cycling. And then one day in early May, we were into COVID. We were in lockdown in Ireland, and I was out for a cycle and I just felt awful. I literally thought I was going to die, and I crawled home and got into bed for, I'd say, nearly 3 weeks. I just was out of it. I suspect I got COVID, but I spoke to the medical team that I was under at St. James's Hospital. And they reckoned at that time, as we all know, it was a different time. They reckoned I wouldn't have survived it without some sort of intervention. But as we know now, there are people that got COVID and survived it and had various complications and survived it. So from then on, I had absolutely and utterly a dreadful time. I went on for years, absolutely miserable, from nausea to fatigue to, getting up some mornings at, trying to have some breakfast, and I crawled back up to bed for the rest of the day, just couldn't cope. Everything went on hold. And then I had a little uplift in 2022 that was probably prompted by we had planning permission to build a house, which we had put on hold. And I didn't think this was probably about May 21, May, June, maybe July. I didn't think I was going to make Christmas. And for my wife, it was probably like a last act of love. I said we should go ahead with building this house to give her something. If something happened to me, that she'd have something at least to preoccupy her, And she was also working full time she still is. She's a little bit younger than me. Um, and we got the house built and we moved into it and I was able to participate in some of it, the decision making and that, but like even a half an hour on some decision making would exhaust me. So we managed to get the house built and it was ready we moved into it in July 2022 and sold our own house. And my health started to deteriorate again a bit. Well, it wasn't getting any better, and it was in as good as it was deteriorating. So I put a little bit of pressure on my doctor, and I decided to spend a little bit of money and get myself fully checked out. Started going to a pulmonary guy who sent me to, because I was having trouble breathing. And he sent me to a cardiologist and what else? I got all sorts of tests, but the pulmonary guy couldn't find anything really wrong with me, disease-wise, with my lungs or anything like that. And I was back with him, but he was very good. He was very holistic. He kept looking, you know. He wasn't just one of these people that took your money and said, no, there's nothing more I can do. Very holistic. And he kept looking. And I was back with him in May this year. And we had gone through pretty much everything. So technically, I was well. I had had more scopes done by the esophageal cancer team. They have a very good follow-up service here in Ireland for that. I'm monitored every 6 months. And uh, Dr. Shavade, or Abalash, as I call him, um, I was chatting to him, and I he was a bit astonished. I had bloods for him, and my cholesterol level had stabilized, and I had on my own bat stopped taking a statin I was on because I just felt I took a bad reaction to them. I had been on them for years and years. Typical of someone of my age group. And I said to him, look, we've gone through everything, right? And the only thing I haven't addressed is that it could be chronic fatigue that I have, or chronic fatigue mixed with irritable bowel syndrome, which I have all the symptoms of. And I said, possibly I got COVID in 2020, early 2020. And he quizzed me a little bit. And next thing he's writing me a prescription. And it's for Naltrexone 1.5 milligram dose to be taken once a day. And I kind of figured it out afterwards. It's better taken at night. And he also gave me another drug, which is for narcolepsy, people, falling asleep during the day. And he just told me on that one just to take that as needed. And I took that one a couple of times with the full 100 milligram dose, but I did not like it. It was I was having bad dreams, so I started taking that just in breaking it in half, and that worked much better. And I really only take that occasionally. So I then started taking the Naltrexone, and it looks like I was one of the lucky ones that kicked in virtually immediately for me. I started seeing an improvement. And at the same time, I started this exercise trial with UCD, University College Dublin, which is for people over 70. And I had tried this with St. James's Hospital at Dublin back about 2 years previously, a very similar program, and I couldn't tolerate it. But I found that the UCD exercise program, I could tolerate it. And can't believe it, a guy of my age who had no interest really ever, except academically in exercise. I took to it, and absolutely, partly the girl leading it was just fantastic. She was a great lead. Unfortunately, I ended that program. Well, the being led on that program last week, and now I'm on my own, and she'll monitor me again in 12 weeks' time. But anyway, the Naltrexone seems to have kicked in for me. Um, that kind of horrible. Oh, the other thing is I had on this shoulder, I had where they operated for the esophageal cancer. I had desperate nerve problems, and the hospital referred me to the pain clinic at St. James, and I had Botox on that. That I had that in February of this year, and that worked pretty good, but was starting to wear off when I started taking the Naltrexone, and I was saying I'd have to go back to them. But when I started taking the Naltrexone, the nerve pain has reduced greatly in this. Now I have some, but it's kind of still manageable. But the Naltrexone, all that kind of weariness in my brain, that kind of fog, that trying, even to think about doing something, that energy started to lift. Um, the deep fatigue pain, I describe it as, that pain that goes right into every core and sector of your body, right up into your brain, even affects your vision sometimes, um, that has pretty much gone. There's the odd occasion it sneaks back in. That has pretty much gone. And I also showed the prescription that I got for Naltrexone to my cardiologist. I was back with him, and he said, "Great, they're having great results with it." And I showed it to. Have had trouble with my eyes since I was in my 20s. So at least once a year, I go to a specialist to have them checked and everything. And he's one of those specialists that's kind of on the genius scale, but very good. And I showed it to him, and he immediately looked them up, and he says, "Oh, they look very interesting." And he says, "They don't look dangerous either," you know, um, which was, reassuring. Um, and uh, um, so for me, the Naltrexone, I've been one of the very fortunate ones. Even in France now, I don't know whether I had to do a workaround. I lost my meds when we went to France on holidays in end of June, and there was nothing now that I would have died that I needed. But between the French police, my pharmacy in Ireland, and a pharmacy in France, they were just fantastic. But they could only give me the Naltrexone in the full dose. And I know it's not strictly right, but I diluted it in a 500 ml bottle of water and just took tiny little sips of it for the 3 or 4 days we were in France. And that got me home. And my pharmacy had a fresh prescription for me when I got home. So I seem to be the one of the very fortunate. I'm not a scientist, by the way, but I was involved in the kind of science area in that I sold laboratory and science equipment for quite a bit of my career. So I was working around research people, and so I have a little knowledge, or as my mother would say, that a little knowledge can be a dangerous thing sometimes. But I've done quite a bit of reading about Naltrexone, and it I know there's some people it doesn't do a lot for, and then there's other people that which look like me that it's a nearly a magic drug.
So when did you start taking the
I
LDN?
started it was in May. It was probably just about mid-May this year,
Okay.
2024. So I'm what, May, August. I'm about 4 months into it now, you know. I haven't, I don't think, I need to increase the dose. I think up to about 4 milligrams is where the paradoxical effect disappears. I
It
don't,
really depends on the individual. Some
yeah,
people find 1.5 is good, and some people find as much as 9
yeah.
is their dose.
I seem to be managing on the low dose, you know, and it really is the only thing I've been taking. As I said earlier on, I had bloods done last February, which had stayed, and my cholesterol had normalized. I was now only a little bit over the scale, you know, all my time, but they've normalized down to, you know, this 5 on the scale or whatever it is, you know. And I had bloods done last Friday, so it'll be interesting to see now what they'll be. You know, I have the Naltrexone. These will be bloods done with Naltrexone. And the other thing that was interesting happened for my esophageal cancer. I have a little bit of ulceration where they did the operation, and the hospital are very insistent that I take a PPI at 40 milligrams twice a day for it, you know. So, but I was having trouble tolerating that. So my pulmonary guy prescribed me, what's it, an N4, an N2 or something. It's a similar type of drug, but maybe not as effective. Let's see if I tolerate it. But I couldn't get it in Ireland. And I, in desperation, I went back on the PPI, and I've been able to tolerate it since, you know. And that was, you know, that had gone pretty rogue on me back in May, April, you know, March, April, May. It was making me nauseous and, you know, bringing aches and pains and all of that sort of thing. So it'll be interesting to see. And the other thing is, I think it might have been the trauma of what I was through. I have an enlarged prostate, but it's, you know, there's nothing to worry about, you know, and that has been coming down slowly. It'll be interesting to see what that'll be like on the bloods this time around, you know. But you know, I'm just sitting here now in, I'm not too sure. This is my man cave. It's at the bottom of our garden. Have, I'm preparing. I had decided for my retirement I was going to do some leather craft back in 2019, and I was just so sick I wasn't able to do anything, you know. And this was just full with all junk. And slowly now, over the last since May, I've managed to get a new window put in, a new door. You know, I'm looking up our garden to the back of our new house. And you know, today I was able to start moving some stuff around to that I can start doing a little bit of work soon, you know. You know, that was like I just couldn't manage that before May, you know, this year.
I
So
was
yeah,
wondering, you were saying about having had COVID, do you think?
yes.
And then the chronic fatigue happened. Did they not link it together and call it long COVID?
Well, I didn't push it, right? And probably partly my own fault in that years ago, some medic in a discussion about my father-in-law who had bad issue over knee surgery, made the comment that a little pain will not kill you. But so I kind of, the pain in my shoulder and, the other pains I have, I really didn't, um, um, you, you know, I didn't push it. I didn't describe it maybe very well. Now, I did tell them every time I went to my own GP or I went to one of the specialists or that, exhaustion was a big, big problem. But I don't think I was recorded anywhere that I had COVID or could have had COVID. Now, I did have in just before Christmas last year, I did get COVID, but it was pretty mild, it was, but I didn't notice any increase in the fatigue or anything like that. So, some of the fatigue that I would have had after this esophageal cancer surgery, there can be complications, things like hiatus hernia and, irritable bowel type syndromes, because it's a very aggressive surgery. And in my case, it was an 11-hour surgery, which was compounded by where they did a lot of the surgery. I had lost a kidney through a trauma in my early 30s, and there was a lot of scar tissue that they had to work around, So it probably wasn't the easiest or neatest surgery possible. And which I probably made a decision. My own GP, unfortunately, it was a practice that was taken over. We were with it for, my previous doctor for many, many years, and he was just fantastic. But the person that took over, it's a bit of box ticking. So I think we've made a decision. We try and get ourselves with with a new practice someplace. Even last Friday, I was getting prescriptions renewed, and they got some of that wrong.
Oh dear.
But anyway, I'm loath I was exposed enough to the medical profession, whether it's here in Ireland with the HSE or in the UK with the NHS, that on a scale to 1 to 10, virtually every medic you come across does fantastic work. It's some of it is, they sometimes just don't have the time to.
And talking of time, we've now run out of
Yeah.
time. So I wish you every success with everything. And I hope you enjoy your man cave, and we'll look forward to seeing some of your leather work.
Yes, and thank you very much.
Okay.
And if there's anything in the future, I'm happy enough to do a return visit.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
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 Any questions or comments you may have, please email me, Linda, Linda, at ldnrt.org. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for joining us today. We really appreciated your company. Until next time, stay safe and keep well.